All right, welcome back, everybody. Mynor Ramos here with TLC Agency, and we're going to be starting the mini series covering velocity banking.
Yes, and I'm Francine Carrillo Walters with Walters Asset Protection and Mortgage.
All right. Now, Francina, just a question for you. When was the first time you heard this term velocity banking? Do you remember?
I honestly don't remember the exact date,
Yeah,
but I know that it's a huge thing going on now
yeah,
for lots of people that are struggling. Yes.
yeah. So, as we unpack this topic, I want people to know where this is coming from because some of the gurus aren't going to approve of this. I'm just going to give this to you right away. And we're going to talk about the philosophy. We're going to talk about a little bit about the history of it. But I want to start out with introducing to you what I believe, who I believe is the authority online on velocity banking. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick with everybody. And this way, and I believe that Denzel Rodriguez, as he says, Denzel, not not Washington, Denzel Rodriguez. So here's all his information. I'm freely giving you the information because what I want you to do is I want you to understand why we have decided to partner with Denzel. And the Finance Geek is really the authority on velocity banking. So in its initial and just understanding the basis of velocity banking, there has to be an understanding of four major numbers. If you don't do this, it will not work. Can you imagine, Francine, if you have somebody coming in for a mortgage and they don't know their expenses, they don't know their income, how's that going to work out?
Yeah, it's not going to work out very well. It's not going to go very far.
65% of Americans do not know how much they spend on each, their expenses, on a monthly basis. Now, this, as we go through it, we've simplified it, and I'll tell you how we've been able to simplify it. But I want to highlight these four major numbers: your total income monthly, and that could be household income if all the debts are going to be put in together. Now, I know that there are some fixed expenses and there are some variable expenses, but at the end of the day, if you were running your household like a business, you would want to be able to account for every single penny down to the penny, like an accountant would, right?
Mhm.
And then you want to know your debt. And look, everything that you have a payment on, everything that you have a loan on is your debt. And the reason for that is because we want to look at what your cash flow is right now and how the cash flow can be improved on, but you won't know that until you know those numbers. So,
Right.
yeah, any questions on this as we go through, Francine? No?
No, that's pretty clear to me.
Okay. We want to make sure to simplify it, but people need to understand that this is the basis of it. This is fundamentally where
Mhm.
velocity banking starts. Now, let's go over to the definition. So, you talk about OPM, other people's money. The definition of velocity banking is the ability to leverage that concept of other people's money. And it could be done with a credit card. It could be done with a personal line of credit. It could be done with a home equity line of credit. It could be done with a business line of credit. And what it does is it actually is used to rapidly pay off the bad debt by canceling the interest on those debts faster than in any traditional way of paying off your debt. Um, it is going to be using your discretionary income. So let me explain briefly what this looks like today. Where do people put their money once they get paid? Typically,
Most people, 80% in the bank.
in the bank, is sitting in their checking account or in their savings account. Getting how much are they getting now?
Point zero zero three five
Zero,
percent.
zero, zero. And then, yeah, that's not going to work, right? So the concept of velocity banking is taking those 30 to 31 days in a month and taking your income and throwing it into the mix. This is not what you've heard before. You haven't been taught this in school. Some of the gurus aren't going to talk about this, but we have the proof of how effective this process is. Okay, so as far as a definition, let me simplify it even further. Have you ever heard the term borrowing from Peter to pay Paul?
Yes. Yes.
That is essentially what velocity banking is in its at its core. So borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, where Peter charges me 0 interest to pay Paul, who has been charging me interest, then that way we're going to be able to circulate. Now, what the reason why I think this is, and if we don't have those 4 major numbers, this won't work. But what's critical about this is, and this is a concept that most people need to understand, stale money stinks. If money just sits around and doesn't do anything, it's not gonna be very effective. So we're talking about the efficiency of that money. You can rightfully borrow from Peter to pay Paul if you can come around and make sure that you have enough money to pay Peter, right? By the time that the circle comes around. Okay, so we wanted to do this as a bite size. We went through what it is, 4 major numbers, simple explanation and definition, and how we're going to use it. What I would encourage you before you watch the next video is, if I were you, I would start to think of how you're managing these 4 numbers. So answer the question for yourself. How am I managing these 4 major numbers that we discussed already? Okay, so let's go ahead and break this one out. There's going to be links in the description, both of how you can work with Francine and Walter's, asset protection, as well as myself. And then this will be the conclusion of the first video.